From a garbage dump, let's head to one of the most scenic cities in the world, which has been celebrated in Hollywood, Bollywood, and world cinema for decades. The romantic city of Venice. But as the world heats and glaciers melt, the future of this city seems shaky. More and more of this city is sinking each passing day, and it is becoming a big challenge to keep this city afloat.
Venice has fascinated the world for over 1,600 years. And for just as long, people have been scared of floods or worried that the city could sink into the sea. This is the latest attempt to protect Venice. 78 metal barriers that can be raised to separate the sea from the lagoon. The system is called MOSE.
If we hadn't had MOSE, Venice would have been irreparably destroyed on November 22nd, 2022. It was the second highest flood in history, but nothing happened. We were able to protect the lagoon and Venice.
Elisabetta Spitz has already given the order to raise the barriers over 50 times. And she's having to do it increasingly frequently.
We now know that MOSE is a flexible instrument that does not always have to be opened, nor at the same time. Today we know much more about floods and winds, so we're in a position to act against flooding, to use the MOSE system only partially, and to guarantee the exchange of water between the sea and the lagoon.
Does that mean Venice can be saved? Climate experts predict that the sea level could rise by 60 centimeters by the end of the century. The oceanographer Georg Umgiese says that MOSE is just buying time.
Is MOSE enough to save Venice? Yes, at the moment. Definitely in the next 10, 20 or 30 years. But if the sea level rises by 50 centimetres, it will have to be used 300 to 400 times. That's once a day. It won't manage. MOSE won't be able to cope as a structure, but nor will the lagoon manage, because it needs the exchange of water.
Marco Sicovini from the Venice Institute of Marine Sciences is researching the lagoon's ecosystem. He says the frequency with which MOSE is being used has not yet had any major consequences, but this could change if the lagoon is separated from the sea more frequently and for longer periods of time.
It could be that at some point we'll have to decide whether it makes sense to maintain the lagoon as a saltwater lagoon or not. The long closures interrupt the cycle between the sea and the lagoon, which is fundamental for Venice. It's what creates the lagoon floor, which determines what plants and animals can live there. We're going to face tough decisions.
Whether to save the lagoon or the city. Venetians would ideally keep both. Piazza San Marco is the lowest point of Venice and the first to flood. Work is currently underway to raise the square.
If it were raised to 110 centimetres, then the square would no longer be underwater, because it would manage up to 110 centimetres without flooding. And at over 110 centimetre, the MOSE system would close. So in other words, there would be no more flooding on Piazza San Marco.
He believes we need to have faith, that people often forget that Venice has sunk 30 centimeters in the past 150 years. Too much groundwater has been pumped from the city's aquifers. But groundwater could also help save the city from disaster.
If the water that's been pumped out is pumped back in, then Venice could rise by 30 centimetres again. That would be the exact 30 centimetres that we've lost in the past 150 years. So we would be going back, starting at zero again, so to speak.
He says that Venice as we know it cannot last forever in any case. At some point, the lagoon will have to be separated from the sea, and that Venetians will be forced to decide.
Both cannot be rescued. We have to decide what to save. Venice. There is only one Venice.
A difficult decision. One Venetians hope they will never have to make.